Hi, welcome to the bathtub. This is the post-tech. We're in the post-tech decade. We're just drinking pure mountain water with a little ice in the lucid light of the afternoon, and that's it. We don't. There's nothing special. No pixels. No glamour. None of the typical special effects, CGI wondrousness that you learn to expect from the show. We're going into a purer, simpler bathtub. Today, I'm doing a brief ones too. We're doing a few brief ones this afternoon because I wanted to get up some. I want to clear some shelf space. Basically, I've had all these different books I've been reading, and we're going to kind of continue our little follow through. I've been doing rereading and reading the complete MAIGRET since about 2014 when they came out with. Dota's very excited about MAIGRET. That's her favorite writer. We've been reading since Penguin started retranslating all of the MAIGRETs and publishing them serially and chronologically as they were published in France. And I've read most of these. I've probably read most of them since I was about 16 or 17. And we're reading some of the MAIGRETs and then some of they call the Not-so-durs, the hard novels, the more serious MAIGRETs, more serious Simenon novels. The MAIGRETs, as we said, are much lighter. And they're just so absorbing and enjoyable. They really are a warm bath all themselves, and yet they're set in a world where people succumb to desires and violences inside themselves that are not make them perfect. But Maigret and his wife live a nice, sedate French existence. As I've mentioned, I really much prefer these later ones as we get to this last decades of the Maigrets, and I read two of them in the past. I basically read them in an afternoon. Maigret and the Lazy Burglar, I read like a week or two ago, and then Maigret and the Good People of Montparnasse. I'll just say a few words about both of them. They're both great. They're both terrific. They're all set in Paris. All the late books, the early books are not set in Paris very often, which is really strange. And then as Simenon settles down after the war and he's more in Paris, he writes about Paris beautifully. Maigret and the Lazy Burglar is kind of an interesting. Again, each one of the books takes a sort of view of the world that Maigret experiences for that novel. They're not sequential at all. There's a few recurring characters, but you don't really go on from one mystery to the next mystery like you do in a, Colin Dexter novel or something. There's no sequence in the novels really. But in the Maigret and the Lazy Burglar, it's about how all these kind of bureaucrats are taking over the police department in Paris. And they want to run around and tell everyone what to do. And they're much more interested in catching criminal gangs and violent gangs, the people who are in the newspapers more often. Whereas Maigret's interest is always on these particular murders in which individuals have shown that almost anyone can commit a murder. That's sort of the Maigret's. And he has, in that book, it's very interesting how he kind of balances it out. He's supposed to be chasing after these thieves who are breaking. I can't remember what they're stealing, but it doesn't matter. And he wants to focus on the murder of a petty criminal who he had kind of befriended over the decades. So it kind of goes back and forth. One of the things that's interesting about the Maigret series is basically Maigret is actually a permanent about to retiree. From the beginning of the series, I think basically even in the 40s, he retires Maigret. Maigret retires early in the writing of the series, and there's a lot of short stories where him and Madame Maigret are off in the countryside. And then when Simenon wanted to write them again, since there was no sequence in the series, he just sort of brought him back, and he was always about to retire. In both of these books, there's like still not another 30 volumes to go. He's constantly talking about how he's about to retire in a year or 2 years, and Simenon kept writing them for dozens of years. So he's sort of an old guy who's kind of tired of the whole business, and yet he still loves getting to know these people and understanding these people and why they do things. Maigret and the Lazy Burglar, again, all these late ones are great. I don't think I've read a bad one so far since I got into about the period of the 50s. Maigret and the Good People of Montparnasse is a very interesting one too, just for the Simenon metaphysic, I guess, is that he comes into a house where the people. It's about an older man who's murdered, and he's in this house. And as Maigret looks into the whole system, the whole family, they're like really nice people. They're good people. the son-in-law is a doctor who works at the hospital and tries to help people, and the man who gets murdered, and him and his wife, they're a good couple, and they have a daughter who they love, and they go see her, and they're just like a really nice family. And it drives Maigret crazy because he says, this seems wrong. There's got to be something going on here. And of course, he pursues it until he finds that kind of dark history of the family, that one thing that really isn't good about the family, and which leads to the murder. So it's a really good one, really good one. And finally, I went back. I like to read one or two Maigrets and then go back to one of the harder novels. So I started picking these up again. These are this is my first experience with Simenon. Is when I was in high school, I used to buy these Penguin omnibuses, and this is the first Simenon omnibus, and maybe one of the first books of Simenon's I ever read. And I bought these all in the 70s, and most of them I kept, and some of them I've lost over the years. And these are the earliest translations. This volume would have come out in 1970, and I read I read the first novel in here, which is one of the classic Not-so-durs. We've talked a bit about some of the old ones, the 30s and 40s serious thriller novels that are being reprinted by Penguin, and those are good, but just like the Maigrets, they get much better in the 50s and 60s. And this is called MONDE Vanishes. It was published in 1952. I actually believe Penguin's retranslated this too in the past 5 years. But I wanted to go back to read the one. I read this when I was a kid, possibly the first one I ever read, and it's great. It's really a really great book. Again, the opposite is that these are the opposite of the Maigrets. The Maigrets is you're in the head of Maigret, who has a nice, pleasant, happy daily life and a nice conventional little life with his wife, and he goes out and sees how unconventional people are behaving in the world. And in the thrillers, we're in the head of somebody who actually does something, either a crime or breaks away from society. And the thing that Simenon loves to write about the most is, my friend John Clute calls them fugue novels, about someone who gets up and just walks away from everything. And that's what this is about. It's about a big fat guy who has a business, he's had money all his life, and he's never been happy. And he just decides one day, he just gets up and walks away from it all. He takes a bunch of money out of the bank, he wraps it up in a newspaper, and he just leaves town. And he gets involved with a woman, in a cheap motel. He's staying at a cheap motel. And he gets involved with a woman who's probably a prostitute who deals with kind of shady characters. And he kind of gets involved in this slightly underworld life that intrigues him in a way. Some of the novels, it really intrigues these conventional bourgeois guys. But he's just sort of happy to be away from this world that he was a part of. And it follows him through his experiences with this woman, and then meeting his first wife, who herself had run away. So his first wife had run away from him, and now he's run away from his second wife, and he meets her in a very chance occasion, which really works. It really works. And I don't want to tell how the ending of the book is. It's not a particularly violent. It's not a violent thriller by Simenon. A lot of the thrillers are not violent. There may be some violence in the beginning, but they are dark psychological novels. And this is a fairly not dark. There's some of those thrillers which the characters kind of come to some understanding of the world. And this is a particularly good one. So MONDE Vanishes. You can either get the old Penguin. These are hard to get now. The omnibuses, which always have one or two Maigrets and one or two thrillers. And this has got two of the best thrillers, two of my favorites, MONDE Vanishes and The Neighbors, which I'm going to reread very soon too. So anyway, that's a catch up. That's catching up with our Simenon-durs and Not-so-durs, as we call them. And we'll just keep reading through these just because it's what I do. It's what I do, and we'll talk to you soon. 3,000 subscribers. You got to be there. It's going to be very exciting. Very exciting. We're going to have all the stuff you probably missed from the high-tech years of the bathtub. Okay, bye.